which is
I'll take
why
Julio.
I think I would take Julio because think about it this way: you can't find a guy like Julio in round 8. You can maybe find a guy like Tyreek in round 8. You
I
can
don't
find
know
a
about that. That was
you
a
can
pretty stupid statement, but
no,
Tyreek is
you can
a
find a
freak.
boomer bust guy and
Okay, but he's
No,
not
no, no.
Deshaun Jackson. He's not
Yeah,
John
yeah, yeah.
Brown. What's up, Fackers? We are back with our Fantasy and Chill 101, counting down the top 101 fantasy football players for the 2020 season. Number 13 on our countdown, wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, Julio Jones. He is our fourth ranked running back. Last year he finished as
wide receiver.
fourth ranked wide receiver. Last year he finished as wide receiver number 3. He had 99 catches for 1,394 yards, 6 touchdowns on 157 targets. He had 232.6 fantasy points, an average of 15.5 points per game. All right, Julio, he's been doing it for a while. He is going to be 31 years old this year, so he's getting up there. I don't know how many more big productive years he has left. I think Matt mentioned it a while back that he kind of looked up that 32 was the magic year for wide receivers start to decline. So we'll see
Not for Julio.
we'll see. He still was wide receiver 3 last year, so still producing. But one thing to that point, last year was a career low in yards per target and yards after the catch. All right,
Don't care.
so I don't know. Is that a sign? Does it matter? Britt says no.
Nope.
And we always know he has had a struggle scoring touchdowns. That one year, 2 seasons ago, it took him like 9 games to get his first, something crazy like that to get his first touchdown. Since 2014, he has only averaged 6.2 touchdowns per season. We say only. That's that's still a pretty good, decent amount of touchdowns. If you look at Andre Johnson's career, who was a very good running or wide receiver. I keep saying running back. If you look at Andre Johnson's career, he never had double-digit touchdowns in a season. But Julio Jones, 6.2 touchdowns per season since 2014. But over the last 2 seasons, he has averaged 10.5 targets per game. All right, he's a target monster, as you see, with the 157 targets last year.
Monster.
Yes.
I love Julio Jones. I like, in my honest opinion, he's probably the best wide receiver in the NFL still. Like, I understand Michael Thomas is there, but I don't think he can compete physically with Julio Jones.
I think it's
Even Devontae.
Julio and Hopkins.
Yes, but I give the slight edge to Julio just because he's done it longer. He has had the better quarterback. I will give him that. But, dude, I mean, Hayden Hurst came out with a quote. What did he say? I've never seen anything like Julio Jones. Like, he's a physical specimen. He is, I mean, yeah, he's a target hog too. He had the year before last, I mean, he had 1,400 yards last year, 1,700 yards the year before, 1,400, 1,400, 1,900, 1,600. And then it was the year he got hurt. And he still has that. Like, I know I sometimes think of it too. He got hurt that one year in 2013, and like people still remember that. And a crazy stat that I saw, it was Devontae Adams. He has only had 1,000-yard season, and he's being drafted over Julio Jones. He does have more, or he probably averages a little bit more touchdowns. He has had 3 double-digit seasons, but
A lot more touchdowns.
that's a travesty to me. I think Julio deserves to be, or Michael Thomas, just because his absurd, what do you have, 150 catches last year? I can see drafting him, and Drew Brees isn't going to throw the ball down the field. But I mean, Julio should be the number 2 wide receiver off the board in just about every single draft. Stud. Age really doesn't matter to him. He's kind of like Jerry Rice. Like, I think he's just that good.
So you're taking him over Tyreek then too?
Yes. Yes, because he's like, if I'm going to take a wide receiver that early, like if I go wide receiver, I have no problem taking Hill. But if I'm going to take a wide receiver that early and pair it with a running back, I'm going to go Julio because he's a lot more stable. He is going to get the targets, and you're not going to get that boomer or bust from him. He's going to put up consistent games of like 8 catches for 100 yards, where Tyreek will give you that 1 catch for 16 yards, and that's it. And I mean, I had Tyreek the year he was number 1, and it was like that. He would win me games and he would lose me games.
Yeah, Julio is definitely a lot safer. And not even the typical where you say safe, where you just think like, you think safe, you think a guy like, I don't know,
No,
Chris
stud.
Carson. Like Chris Carson, that's a safe player, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
average good running back. No, Julio Jones is safe in the fact that he's going to go out there and average close between 15 and 20 points a game. Like,
Yeah,
stud.
and
Yeah.
for all these plebs out there saying that Calvin Ridley is going
That's
to
what I was
like
gonna bring up. Yeah.
God, I don't even want to talk about
overtake
Calvin Ridley.
him a little bit.
I
I
don't
mean, it's kind
understand
of
that at all.
absurd. I don't see Julio taking a step back at all. I still think he is the prime target. And I mean, in my opinion, this short off season, or I mean, short little training camp thing they're getting, no preseason games. I think his chemistry with Matt Ryan is going to come up huge. And I mean, I think he could be a solid. I think he could finish wide receiver one easily.
The only reason I won't say that is because even no matter what you think who the better receiver is, I don't think Michael Thomas is the best receiver in the league, like we said. But you like he is going to get the most targets. He's going to have the most catches. He's going to get a ton of those little 6-yard slant touchdowns that he gets. Like you can't argue with the production that he's going to have with Drew Brees, and that's why he still will be the number one wide receiver. And it's not really that close.
Yeah.
But Julio makes a good case for number 2 when you talk about those next 4 guys that we've talked about.
I think the reason Julio's fallen to the 4th wide receiver off the boards right now is because you look at any fantasy website, any fantasy expert, they're all so high on Calvin Ridley this year that people are just focused on Calvin Ridley. They see Falcons like, I don't want Julio. I want to take Calvin later in the draft.
I don't mind Calvin though. Like to be honest, like he is going to be a good player, but that I think that offense can support that. We've seen them that year. They went to the Super Bowl. They had Devontae Freeman was great, Julio Jones, and then they had what was his name? Fuck.
Mohamed Sanu.
Was it Sanu? I thought it was someone else there.
About the Super Bowl year? Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We've seen Matt Ryan throw 30, 40 touchdowns. Like, he can easily support 2 top wide receivers.
Well, at the beginning of Julio's career, him and Roddy White were both studs. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Roddy White used to be a stud.
This is the year Matt Ryan's supposed to, go off.
This is Matt Ryan's good year. He is off and on every year. We've seen it with his where he finishes, and he was 2 years ago. I don't know where he finished last year. It wasn't that good. So Matt Ryan, get him up.
Pig. I would say this is the year he could support too. Plus, we didn't mention Hooper is gone. Hoop. And Sanu is gone too. Yeah.
But they got your boy, so.
Yeah, my boy Hayden Hurst. But people think all these targets are going to go straight to Calvin Ridley. Like maybe more target. Julio Jones had 170 targets 2 years ago. Maybe more targets go to Julio this year. Like just because you hit the age 32 doesn't mean you fall off a cliff and you can't play football anymore. Like look at Larry Fitzgerald. He's still producing. Like Julio's going to be a beast this year. And just because he's 31 doesn't mean you shouldn't draft him.
Yep.
The only reason why I have Tyreek ahead of him, spoiler alert for our rankings coming up, is Tyreek Hill is undoubtedly on the best offense in football with the best quarterback in football. And he has the biggest potential for those big 40-point games. And I think, Britt, you talked about his boomer bust. His floor has come up, I think, significantly since then. He's more of a guy that's getting more catches per game than he was 2 years ago when he first exploded on the scene. So his floor is higher than it was. But yeah, he does have definitely a lower floor than Julio, but he has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
Maybe. His highest target year was 137. He had 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But that's his best year by far. So he has to stay healthy. But I mean, the thing working against Tyreek, he is the fastest player in the NFL, but he's only 5'10". Like he's not going to be that guy you throw it to in the end zone every time. Like Julio's 6'3", just monster, can go up and get it anytime he wants. And I mean, Tyreek Hill does have him in age. He's 26. But as far as the prototypical number one, Julio's the guy. If you're just looking at him on the field,
Which is why I think I would take Julio because think about it this way. You can't find a guy like Julio in round 8. You can maybe find a guy like Tyreek in round 8.
I don't know about that. That was a pretty stupid statement, but Tyreek is.
You can find a boomer bust guy,
but he's not Deshaun Jackson. He's not John Brown. Like but
if you need a 40-point game out of someone, you can find a wide receiver that can possibly get you. I'm not. You try to act like I'm comparing these guys in round 8 directly to Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying they're the same guy.
I know you're not.
It came off like that a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, I know what you're saying, but it's like, you're saying these guys that could perform like that, but they're not. They're not Tyreek Hill.
And no one's like Julio either.
I know, but I'm not saying you can get a Julio later. Like you're saying you can get a Tyreek Hill later.
What you're forgetting, Matt, I think, is that he has Mahomes. Like, Mahomes is equal to Tyreek Hill as far as his value. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Matt Moore, they did have a good game with Tyreek last year. I think he got like a 50-yard touchdown that game he started. But I'm saying, like, Mahomes with his arm strength and his accuracy, that complements Hill's speed so much because he can throw it 70 yards down the field and Hill just has to be covered. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that's a big part of it. If Tyreek Hill was on another offense, I think he's a fraction of what he is right now.
Yeah. Matt Ryan ain't no schlub either.
Okay, would you start your draft off on the turn, we'll say 10-11 or 12-13, with Julio Tyreek Hill?
No.
Would you ever do that? Is that way too risky?
You have to get a running back.
Yeah, I'm coming around to that. I've tried people are saying this is the year that you can get so much value at wide receiver, like doing the no running back strategy.
Say how deep the wide receiver field is every single video. You look at these guys that we were doing in like the 70s, 60s, 80s, like we're good players.
Yes. And see, that's what I was listening to, I think it was Fantasy Pros podcast today, and they were saying, like, if you go back to last year. I give you a shout out, Matt? Damn.
Wait, let's give a shout out.
It's not a shout out when it's every video.
It's not every video. Well, I mean, okay, I like.
Just say what you were going to say. Say what you were going to say.
Since they got rid of Bobby, I really like their show, okay?
Okay.
I like Matt's boy, Taglier. Tags.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
God damn it, I forgot my damn point.
You were listening to their podcast, and they said blah, blah, blah.
I mean, basically, to go back last year and look at the draft board, it's hard to find a running back who finished as top 15 later in the rounds, but it's very easy to do as far as wide receivers go. I mean, we had DJ Shark, Terry McLaurin. These guys come out of nowhere, but that just doesn't happen at running back a lot.
Austin Eckler, Kenyon Drake.
What did Drake finish as?
16.
I'll give you Eckler, but yeah, 16, not top 15. Like I said. Miles Sanders was drafted pretty late, pretty early, wasn't he?
I don't know.
This is devolving to a podcast. Finish off.
Call me.
All right. Yeah, we gotta finish this.
Let's just get into politics.
No, not.
No. Please,
Julio,
30 minutes.
Julio Jones. He is our 4th ranked wide receiver, number 13 overall. We out.
We out.
We out.